All right, let's keep going with Neukölln. Let's look at these starving artists next. And you may not know this, but I have an art background myself, so I feel really close to this group. And there's a funny story. It doesn't take long to tell it all, but the original design for the hipsters, I mean, way back when Andy and I were first working on a revised version of Seize the Bean, the original idea for the hipsters was that they would draw more cards. And at some point, we came up with this hype mechanic, and that actually hipsters should probably raise your hype because then tourists could lower your hype, and there'd be this like yin yang thing going on. So then the question became, all right, well then who's going to get the original hipster ability of draw a card? And then that's when I think I might have said at the time, incredibly terrible pun was, well, what do artists do? Well, they draw. So that's the ability. So here you have a hobby photographer. And her ability is that she draws a card, and she's a starving artist, so she not only wants coffee, espresso, but she also wants croissant, and then she'll give you a good review, and then her side order is going to be strong coffee, because if you can give her strong coffee, she's pretty happy. And that's the first time you've seen this boost symbol, which is kind of like a little lightning bolt. We couldn't come up with a good thematic representation for this other than it being like they're energized, and this was a pretty clean iconography for it. Now, typically in the game, boost just means that there is an elevated, a better version of the ability. And almost always what it means is one of the cards that you're targeting in the ability will give you good reviews for the number of rewards it has. And we spoke about both the fun employed expats and the friendly locals. They actually have that built into their abilities for balance reasons. But most of the cards in the game from this point on, you'll see if they have a boost, it means that in this case, if I draw a card, I could get points for it if I've paid the side. And then you'll see the super just wants an extra bean and can draw 2 cards. Now, it's good to point out that the boost doesn't affect both cards. You have to decide in advance like which card is the boost going to affect. And boost almost always works that way. It just targets one of the cards. So if I served this hobby photographer, I would draw a card immediately. And I would draw it, and it happens to be Grandpa, which he has Opa, which he has 0 reward icons. So like if I had paid that strong coffee for the boost, it's a gamble, right? You really have to know your deck, which is pretty interesting. So let's say then, and this is actually Mario, this is actually our illustrator. So let's say I activated the ability of this talented illustrator, this super draw twice. So let's say I'm gonna do the boost, but on the second card. So I draw the first one. It's a lazy friend, only has 1 reward. Okay, maybe it was a good move. And then I draw the second card, and it's a tattoo artist that has 2 reward icons. You can see one of them is a good review, one of them is the boost, but it doesn't matter what the icons are. It just counts the number of icons. Then I would have got 2 good reviews for that. And since I also served the main order, that's a good review as well. So it's 3 good reviews. Now, the trick with them that we had to put in the final stages of development was, what happens if your deck is empty? Well, of course, like let's say we had Oma in the discard pile, then you'd shuffle your discard pile into a deck as usual, and then you would draw from there. But let's say that your deck and your discard were empty. Well, in that case, you get a good review. So their strategy is basically to empty the deck out, have nobody coming to the shop. Just have this big line that's always coming every day, all these artists coming every day, and then for all of them, they're triggering basically extra points by drawing on an empty deck. So that's what they do, and I mean I probably don't even need to explain to you how well they mix with the fun employed expats or the friendly locals, in the sense that fun employed expats are pulling from your discard into your line, and so if you used a fun employed to pull an artist, then the artist can pull from your deck, and then at the same time, if the friendly locals were putting cards back on top, then the artist can take them out, yada yada yada. Last video was a little bit longer than I want it to be, which I almost sound like a broken record now, so I'll stop going on and on about it. But you can tell that I'm really excited for you all to play, or even just imagine the gameplay of the combinations that you can create are just explosive. I mean, that just backs up our decision to have the game clock, the length of each game based on the available points, because some games just explode towards the end when you have super cool combinations. So let's go out as usual by looking at some style upgrades. Here we have some handmade decor and also an impossible chair in MC Escher style. And then on the pantry side, we have some of the silliest, one of the silliest ones, Bauhaus croissants. mixed with hand-blown mugs, which is very special to me because my art background was actually glass blowing. All right, y'all. See you in the next vid.